In just 2 days, the US will kickstart its Gold Cup run against Haiti. And with the final 23-man roster having been released, and many already reviewing it and mentioning their thoughts and what the best starting 11 would be for them, I just thought I'd go ahead and do the same. Just to quickly go over the roster, the goalkeepers are Brad Guzan, Sean Johnson, Matt Turner. Defenders of George Bello, Reggie Cannon, Shaq Moore, Donovan Pines, Miles Robinson, James Sands, Sam Vines, and Walker Zimmerman. The midfielders of Kellen Acosta, Gianluca Busio, Sebastian Lletget, Christian Roldan, Eric Williamson, Jackson Ewell, and of course the forwards of Paul Arriola, Daryl Dike, Nicholas Giacchini, Matthew Hoppe, Jonathan Lewis, and Jossie Zardes. Now, first off, we should think about what the goal should be for the U.S. for this Gold Cup. Is it to win it no matter what? Is it to try to cap tie dual nationals? Is it to give younger players a chance to show if they have anything to offer for World Cup qualifiers? Well, truth is, it's probably all of these things. So the real question is, in what order should these things be? What is the primary goal and what is secondary? I think it's clear Berhalter's primary goal is to win it, or at least that's what he says, and many fans would agree. Personally, however, I think the primary goal should have been to answer any remaining questions about our main roster for World Cup qualifiers. For example, who's going to be the backup at left back, the backup for Tyler Adams, the backup at center back, and things like that. Now, I'm not saying the US shouldn't try to win. Of course they should. But for me, that should have been the secondary or at least parallel along with solidifying the backups for the main roster. Now, to be fair, I think that is exactly what Berhalter is doing. For example, he is going to try a Busio at the 6 to compete with Ewell for that backup to Adams spot, which I hope he takes, and letting George Bello challenge Sam Vines for that backup left back spot, and using Miles Robinson and Walker, Texas Ranger. No, wait, that's not right. Walker Zimmerman, there we go, to see if he can compete with McKenzie, Richards, and Miazga for spots at center back. But I just would have also given a chance to some other players as well. If you saw my video about who I would have chosen from the preliminary roster, I chose Busio and Flock for the 6 instead of you. I felt we already saw everything there is to see from him, but to be fair to Berhalter, there is something to be said about team chemistry and that you really can't just throw in a bunch of new faces with the main roster and expect it to work out right away. The main squad should be comprised of players that already have experience playing with each other and have had time to build that chemistry with each other. So, for better or worse, players like Ewell, Acosta, and Leggett do make sense since they have experience playing with our A team. However, that doesn't explain why players like Jonathan Lewis is on this team. While I do feel bad for him because he has received a lot of hate from USMNT fans over his inclusion, I really can't blame fans for feeling that way, however. He was not good in Olympic qualifiers, and he has not been good in MLS this season. He's not in form, and therefore really has no business being on this roster. Now, to try and play devil's advocate with Greg here, there was a lack of true wingers in the pool, especially on the left. But as many have pointed out, he could have chosen Chris Mueller instead. And heck, after seeing how good Kevin Paredes looked for DC United recently, and who does play on that left side, he could have easily been tried out as a left winger. And in my preliminary roster video, I even suggested trying out Frankie Amaya there as well. Basically, almost anyone would have been a better option than Lewis. But either way, it is what it is. There have been complaints over the inclusion of Acosta, Roldan, and to a lesser extent Leggett and Ariola as well. Now, I don't mind Leggett or Ariola being on this roster because for World Cup qualifiers, I'd assume that Reina, Weah, and even Conrad de la Fuente all of them would be ahead of Ariola at right winger. And Leggett most likely will be used in World Cup qualifiers, which is fine because he has shown that when he has those quality players around him, he can be effective and score goals. Now, as far as Acosta and Roldan, many fans like Acosta, and they think he's a workhorse and tries hard for the team, which he does, but they do seem to forget that he has a bit of a habit of giving the ball away in dangerous positions and committing fouls that lead to free kicks just outside the box. So, not what you want happening, but for better or worse, Greg seems to like him and will most likely be taking him along for World Cup qualifiers. I'm just hoping someone like Busio can have a good Gold Cup and maybe take away that backup 6 spot away from Acosta, but we'll see. But something tells me that even if Busio does do a very good job, Greg will still find a way to include Acosta as well. Maybe play him as an 8 or something like that. Now, Roldan is here because of all the hype he's been generating in MLS this season. Now, he only has 2 goals and 1 assist in 12 starts, But fans say he has been performing well and has been a key figure in Seattle's great start to the season, winning 7 games and drawing 5 with no losses, and are currently tied with Sporting Kansas City at the top of the table with a game in hand. Seattle's on fire right now, and according to fans, Roldan is a big reason why. So we'll see how he does in Gold Cup, but I doubt he gets much time for World Cup qualifiers, as players like McKinney and Musa are ahead of him. So I don't think fans should freak out too much. Now, this is the starting 11 I'd go with. It's, of course, Matt Turner in goal, with Miles Robinson and Walker Zimmerman in front of him, with Reggie Cannon and Sam Vines as the fullbacks. As I've stated before, in a back four, I think Vines is the better choice to have, as I believe he is more solid defensively than Bello. Now, here's where things start to get a little tricky. In the middle, I have Buzio and Williamson along with Leggett. I think this is a midfield trio that can create, and I feel Leggett will be able to be effective with those kinds of players around him. Then up top, we have Areola and Hoppy as the wingers, with DK up top. Now, Greg has flirted with the idea of using a back three, so if that were to happen, I'd say it'd probably be like a 3-5-2. I personally also like a 3-4-3, but I'll do a whole nother video on that later. For the 3-5-2, I'd still have Turner in goal, but now with Zimmerman and Robinson on the sides, and both have played in a back three with their clubs before, but both have always been used on the right, as they are right footed. But I'd put Robinson on the left because he knows Bello better, and as they are teammates, and he might do a better job covering for him. Then I put James Sands in the middle. Why? Well, because he has experience playing as a center defensive midfielder. So I think he will do a good job of playing a little further up and maybe forming a bit of a diamond midfield when in possession, and of course dropping back when out of possession. For the fullbacks, I'd keep Cannon, but now I'd put Bello on the left because I think in a back three, he's the better option there instead of Vines. Still with the same midfield trio as before, and then for the two strikers up top, I'd put DK and Hoppy. Two somewhat different types of strikers, so not sure if they'd link up well, but only one way to find out. But now, what Greg will most likely go with is his usual 4-3-3, and I think he keeps pretty much the exact same defense as I mentioned. Now, Pines is the only center back here that usually plays on the left, but I think Greg rates Robinson and Zimmerman higher, so he'll mostly start them. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Pines there on the left at some point as well. Now it's the midfield where Greg will definitely do something different. Most likely he goes for experienced players that he already knows, like Acosta or Yule, with Roldan and Leggett. Now, any combination of these four players starting together will lead to some creative stagnation, and I don't see them creating many chances. So expect Leggett to be kept mostly quiet, so don't be surprised if he isn't as effective as we are used to seeing. Greg already said he will be using Hoppy as a winger, so I really hope that means he'll be on the left instead of Lewis, but who knows. And then for sure, Areola will be on the right, with possibly Giacchini to back him up, and maybe come on at the end when we are chasing the game. And of course, DK up top. I know Greg likes Zardes, but I think he rates DK higher now and will most likely start him. But I wouldn't be surprised to see him throw Zardes a bone, especially in the group stage. And so now, what can the US realistically expect from this roster and starting 11? Honestly, we should still do well and at least make it to the semifinals. Obviously, Greg will want to win it all, and I would too, as would all fans. But I think most of us are cautiously optimistic, and some are even preparing for the worst, which is a group stage exit, which would be a disaster. Now, I don't think Greg would be fired for that, but he definitely will have lost all the goodwill he had gained with Nations League. Personally, I fully expect this team to at least make it out of the group stage, but from there, it's an unknown. I mean, I could see us losing in a semifinal. I could see us losing in the quarterfinal. I mean, it really depends on who we face. But either way, it's going to be a challenge for this team. But I think they should at least make it out of the group stage. Anything less than that, and I think this would be a big failure. So that's my reaction and expectation of this Gold Cup roster. I do hope they do well, and I especially want to see players like Busio, Robinson, Cannon, Hoppy, and DK, and even Giacchini as well. I want to see them do well in this tournament. Now, that doesn't mean I'm rooting against any players like Acosta, Roldan, Leggett, or Zardes, or even Areola, or heck, even Lewis. I think most of them will perform more or less as expected, but hey, if they have an incredible tournament and help us win the whole thing, then that'd be fantastic. We literally couldn't ask for more. Now, please go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and don't forget to tell me what you think of this roster. Who do you think Berhalter will start, and what are your expectations for this team? Let me know down below, and as always, thanks for watching. This is American Soccer United, the place where American soccer fans unite.